Alright, hey everybody, One of Wisdom here. It is a little after 4 in the morning, Sunday, June 9th, 2013. This is round 8 of our Castaways versus Newlanders battle tournament. Wrapped up Friday night. I'm still insanely busy. I'll be flying out of here in a couple hours to head off to E3. That said, I wanted to get this done. I want to get feedback on what people would like to see next. I'm kind of inclined, I've mentioned this several times in the videos, to actually, take this as like segment 1, if you will, Castaway versus Newlander. Then come in and kind of like our segment 2 could be Castaways versus Castaways, in order. In other words, we'd have Warnado versus Dino-Rang, Sunburn versus Camo, Voodoo, Boomer, Ghost Roaster, Wham-Shell, etc. Then on the Newlander side, we'd have Chill, Jet-Vac, Flashwing, Hotdog. You get the idea. And basically, string them out. We'd have Warnado take on Sunburn, then Camo, then Voodoo. Kind of cycle it the same way. And essentially what we could do then, we'll just say that Warnado, went 8-0 in the Castaways Newlanders. Then he would go 7-0, obviously. And, Castaway versus Castaway, he'd be 15-0. And then we'll say Chill lost every time to the Castaways and she lost to all the other Newlanders. She'd be 0-15. Then segment 3 would basically be our playoff. And we'd come in, Warnado as the overall number 1 seed. He would take on the overall lowest seed. We can situate it that way. The only thing is, eventually we might run into a deal where, say, Warnado and Dino-Rang both win, and then in the bracket, they would advance and face each other instead of a Newlander. Still, nonetheless, it would kind of be tournament style, but like I've said several times, I wanted people to be thinking how they wanted to see it structured. We can end it here. If that's what people want to do, we can kind of expand on it. Just let me know what you'd like to see, and we will take it from there. That said, I can say with full confidence now that bloggers' voting issues have been restored. I know that because it was like Wednesday of this week that the option to add a video to a blog post came back. And prior to that, it was still down. It showed that I had no videos. On my nephew's blog, the Walkthrough King's site, his polls were completely wiped out still. Most of mine had been restored. His were 0-0. And I just checked on the iPad, and his stuff was back online. So that's the good news. It actually got the votes back to kind of what we'd had, in the early rounds. Again, since I made it a 1 week type thing. But this was probably the way it panned out. I mean, I just went by element, as you know. And this last cycle through was actually probably overall the most intense and competitive. Numerous factors. Number 1, getting the votes back might have swayed things. Number 2, this was like the back against the wall for some of these Newlanders to have a win or just go 0-8, winless. So that said, before I forget, Chase McCain is somewhere out there, different position. Not too hard to find him, but I think someone will locate him. If you do, feel free to post up. Our first matchup, we have Chill, who you just saw, Light Core Chill, unboxed the other day. She comes in, she is a Water Element Newlander. She comes in at 0-7, one of the 3 winless Newlanders. And Warnado spins in, he is, of course, the Air Element Castaway. He has a 4-3 record. 30 total votes in this one. We had 30 and 31 in all the polls here, so kind of more in line as well. Wasn't like a huge disparity. But Warnado absolutely tore her up. 22-8. That's a +14 margin of victory. Warnado will improve to 5-3, and Chill is ice cold. She actually falls to 0-8. Keep that in mind as we advance here. Our next matchup. As far as what I would have picked in that situation, personally, I would have had to take Warnado. I do really like Chill, particularly, since it seems not many other people do. That kind of draws me more to certain characters. It's like that in a lot of things in life, but as much as I do like chill, and like I said, PvP, I feel like I could have anyone beat anyone. But I wanted you to factor in the pose, the looks, gameplay, upgrades, etc. Like I said, before he came out, when I saw him on the poster, he was one of my most anticipated last time around. And something about a tornado and a turtle just really works for me, so I'd give it to Warnado. This matchup here, I thought this one could be interesting. If you recall from the matchup video, Earth Element Castaway Dino-Rang. He swings in at 5-2, pretty respectable mark. He is up against the winless, shocking and awingly, Jet-Vac Air Element Newlander, who came into the matchup at 0-7. I thought Jet-Vac, had a chance to do a little better than he usually does here. As it turns out, he used the blaster gun and he took out Dino-Rang, much to my surprise, 17-13. Again, had Dino-Rang battled him 2 weeks ago, I kind of have to wonder if he wouldn't have just obliterated him. I don't know if this is a case where, oh man, Jet-Vac, I like him, I don't want him to be winless, and that kind of got like sympathy votes. I don't know if there was a big Jet-Vac faction. It doesn't really match up with what we've seen. It could be the missing votes from a couple of weeks, kind of skewed things in my logic. But this one for me is really tough. Despite him being winless, I actually really like Jet-Vac. Dino-Rang, of course, is one of my favorites. As you should know, the Earth Element in general is tough to beat. I think in this case I would take Dino-Rang over Jet-Vac. It is pretty close in my personal book, but just kind of my preference there. Our next matchup was a Dragon Showdown. I thought this one might have been a little bit more competitive than it ultimately turned out to be. Flashwing comes in. She is our Earth Element Newlander. She has a mark of 1-6. Jet-Vac Dino-Rang was 17-13. I think I forgot to mention that. So +4, pretty tight. Sunburn comes in, scorching hot, 5-2. He is, of course, the Fire Element Castaway. He earned a total of 20 votes. Based on what I've said in the video already, you probably know what that means. He took out Flashwing. She came in with 11. Thought this one might have been a little tighter. Again, when you've got the two dragons, that kind of draws conflict of interest for some people. And like I said, I think in the preview video, they both have, kind of several unique elements going for them. I do enjoy playing as Sunburn. That said, I think I would have to give the edge here to Flashwing. That's just me personally. But this means that... I think I forgot to mention this too, but Jet-Vac improved to 1-7, Dino-Rang fell to 5-3, Sunburn improved to 6-2, Flashwing falls to 1-7. So she's knotted up there with Jet-Vac. Our next matchup, and this is the one that I pegged as our marquee matchup. Ultra hot, ultra popular Hotdog comes in as a Fire Element Newlander. He has a mark of 6-1. Only loss, I believe, was to Ghost Roaster. Camo, however, is pretty close to perfection. He comes in with a mark of 6-0-1. He had the tie with Pop Fizz. Total of 31 votes in this one. Maybe not as tight as some of you might think. It was a +9, just like we saw with Sunburn and Flashwing. Ultimately, what happened? The Fruit Dragon sniffed him out, and Camo takes the win, 22-11. This moves Camo up to 7-0-1. That, of course, cements him at the top. He has the very best record in the Castaways Newlander Series. Hotdog, who was our top tier, literally, in the Newlander segment, he falls now to 6-2. Personally, I would take Camo over Hotdog. I do enjoy playing as Hotdog, but it's just really, really tough to compete against Camo. He brings a lot to the table in terms of gameplay. He's a beast in story mode, beast in PvP. He's got a good pose, and I think that's probably similar concepts to what most think. This brings us now, Voodoo versus Shroom Boom, I'm sorry. Shroom Boom, of course, he's a real fun guy. He's our life element Newlander. Voodoo is the magic element Castaway. Of course, he's kind of there with Boomer. He was everywhere, then he was nowhere, then he became somewhat more popular than he was. Shroom Boom hadn't gotten a lot of love from anybody just yet, but again, just like Voodoo was last time, and I mentioned this in the preview, take the time to fully upgrade him. Go, throw them into some action. I think you'll be a little surprised maybe compared to what you think on their base powers. Voodoo came in, you'd have to put him as the favorite to win. He has a 3 and 4 mark. Shroom Boom comes in, of course, winless. Once again, I felt like Shroom Boom had a chance here. Just because, if you match him up, it kind of would give him an edge. Unless you're just like a huge Voodoo fan or hate Shroom Boom or something. Just being totally subjective, they match up pretty dadgum good. As it turned out, this one, I do believe, was our closest contest. Had a total of 31 votes. One character 16, the other 15. Way it panned out, Shroom Boom put the spore in Voodoo. He actually came out on top, 16-15. Picks up his very first win of the tournament. Voodoo close to 500. Actually falls to 3 and 5. Shroom Boom improves to 1 and 7. Joins the mark with Jet-Vac, Flashwing, and maybe someone else. But I guess I won't spoil it that way. Me personally, man, I think I would take Shroom Boom. It could vary given my mood or what I've done recently in the game, but I think I would go with Shroom Boom. Like the people, you that voted selected. Our next matchup, and like I said, this one was very interesting to me for the simple fact we have the lovable loser of Skylanders, Boomer. He won't be back in Swap Force unless it's something special or they change plans. We kind of already know all the tech stuff. He was the ultimate shelf warmer, just sat and sat and sat. Nobody really picked him up. Even at the time, when it was current, even his variant, the chase figure, it was going for the least amount, Then as it turns out, he kind of got really, really, really hard to find, and that kind of surged the popularity. I think that's actually what got the vast majority of people to actually upgrade the guy. I have said all along, I've realized, some people may not like the pose, or he's a troll, or looks boring or something. I think he's an absolute riot. I try not to say this stuff in the preview videos, but, he is a beast when you actually upgrade him. He's a ton of fun. The name pretty much says it all, Boomer. And he has performed fairly well in this. He is at 4 and 3, the tech element Castaway, obviously. On the flip side of that, and this is why it was such an interesting match for me, just the dichotomy. You've kind of got the lovable loser, looks like a total goofball. And then you've got Pop Fizz. Kind of similar personalities, I guess. But the issue here, Pop Fizz came in popular, he's remained popular, he's still popular. He's always had a big legion of fans. Sort of the exact opposite of Boomer. He'd be back here in the shadows, and here's, the lovable, everyone enjoys him, Pop Fizz. He came in, obviously, really good mark, 5-1 and 1. Bear in mind that last one being the tie with Camo, so really good, right up there with Hotdog for the Newlanders. They have a similar pose, really, when you kind of get right down to it. But I thought, Boomer would get a few votes, and ultimately Pop Fizz would probably still slaughter him. I didn't think it'd be the blowout. I thought it'd be a pretty significant margin. I was wrong. It was, kind of, a decent vote total. 31 votes. 5-vote margin of victory. Pop Fizz had 13. You do the math, that tells you that Boomer has 18. He just clobber-trolled the snot out of one of the most popular Skylanders. This amazingly brings Boomer to 5 and 3 in the tournament. That's really, really good, above 500. Pop Fizz on the flip side falls to 2-1 now. So for me, I actually personally I would have gone with Boomer. My logic there, he's the underdog, and again that kind of sways me. I kind of like to go for, maybe against the grain a little bit more than most. But they would actually, if you go strictly PvP, I think they'd match up pretty well. Story mode, they're both a lot of fun to play with. Both paths are good. The poses, again, Boomer, for being one of the original, release type characters, he actually has a pretty good pose in my opinion. Pop Fizz, of course, pretty good pose as well, but again, I was surprised. I thought, there'd be a few people thinking like me and they'd take Boomer, but I expected ultimately Pop Fizz to win. Not the case. Boomer comes out on top. Our next matchup, and you probably remember me saying this in the preview video, I forecasted this as our biggest blowout. Tech Element, Skylander Sprocket, the Newlander. She comes in against the Ghost with the absolute most, Ghost Roaster. Undead Element Castaway, he's getting to be pretty dadgum hard to find in the Dark Light Crypt. He has a mark of 6-1. Juxtaposed to that, we have Sprocket with a mark of 1-6. This one had 30 votes, and the widest margin of victory was +16. If you didn't know, basically what happened, Ghost Roaster just absolutely obliterated her. 23-7 was your final totals. Me personally, no contest here. I would have taken Ghost Roaster. So Sprocket falls to 1-7. She joins Flashwing, Jet-Vac, and Shroom Boom. Ghost Roaster on the flip side, he improves to a very solid 7-1. Our next matchup in the final one, I thought this one would actually be pretty tight. Turns out I was right, it was. I don't mind being right. Fright Rider comes in. He is our Undead Element Newlander. He has a mark of 3-4. And then Wham-Shell, brace for the mace with him. He comes in with a very solid mark of 6-1, just like Ghost Roaster. He, of course, is the Water Element Castaway. He was hard to find when he launched. He's remained hard to find. For some reason, he seems to resonate pretty well with people. This one, again, a +3 margin of victory, 31 total votes. The way it panned out, Wham-Shell maced Fright and Rider. Took the win 17-14. This puts him at 7-1. And Fright Rider, who was gunning for a 500 mark at 4-4, actually falls to 3-5. Me personally here, I'd have to give the edge to Fright Rider. Again, I'm not a huge Wham-Shell person. He is kind of fun from time to time, but just overall, pose, upgrades, story mode, battle mode, everything factored in. At the end of the day, I would choose to have Fright Rider over Wham-Shell. That said, that is it. That is the round 8, match 8 of our Castaways Newlanders battle tournament. Big thanks to everyone that voted. Again, I want to know what you'd like to see next. We can either, option A is kind of like I discussed at the start, go into like segment 2. We'd have Castaways versus Castaways, and then we'd have Newlanders versus Newlanders at the same time. We'd ultimately come in and combine that. Like I said, I use that as a reference point. Warnado undefeated, Chill winless. Chill went 0-8 against the Castaways. We'll just say, for the sake of keeping it simple, she lost to every Newlander. She'd add 0-7 in segment 2. That would put her at 0-15. And then we'll just say Camo, since you know the records now. We'll say that he decimated all the other Newlanders. He finishes pretty much with a perfect record. In round 1, basically I would take number 1 Newlander, which would be Camo, going up against the number 1 Castaway Camo, going up against number 8 Newlander Chill. And issue we could have is, we'll just say theoretically then, that number 4 Newlander, we'll say, was Sunburn, and we'll say he went up against the number 4 Castaway Sunburn against number 5 Newlander Hotdog, and we'll say Sunburn beat him. Then we'd have Castaway versus Castaway. That said, it kind of flows to me because the whole concept here is to have Castaways versus Newlanders, and when we set it up, ultimately, that's pretty much what we would have. We would have, we'll just say in theory, the Castaways won every match, then it's going to be all 8 of those guys competing against each other for the number 1 slot, So I think that should make sense if you followed along, seen some of the other pole battles and whatnot we've done. Our other option, if you don't want to see, like Warnado, Dino-Rang, etc., Ghost Roaster, Wham-Shell, what we can do is just come in with these results, and it would basically be, like I just said, number 8 Newlander Chill versus number 1 Castaway Camo, and set the tournament up now. Personally, I think it'd kind of be cool if we had Castaway Showdown and a Newlander Showdown, particularly doing it now before Swap Force, because we'll have an easier time keeping track of everything, But again, let me know what you want to see. We'll take it from there. The Camo Pop Fizz tie, if I don't get that poll up before E3, I'll probably get it up after that. It'll be a quick one, or I might let it run for a week. It just depends on the free time, really. But I guess we'll go ahead and break that tie and take it from there. But as it turned out, our final standings, I'll just run through these for you real quick. On the Newlander side, Camo number 1, 7-0-1. Tie for 2nd and 3rd. Ghost Roaster comes in at 7-1, and Wham-Shell comes in at 7-1. All alone in 4th place is Sunburn at 6-2. Dino-Rang, Boomer, and Warnado tied 5, 6, and 7 with a mark of 5-3. And our last place, 8th seed, if you will, in the Castaway bracket goes to Voodoo with a mark of 3 and 5. Over on the Newlander side, it's kind of like the flip side of the scale. Have more losses and wins. Number 1 seed for our Newlanders will go to Hotdog at 6-2. Right behind him is Pop Fizz, 5-2-1. Obviously, if him and Camo go into sudden death, Camo could potentially go 8-0. If he didn't, he would be 7-1. That would tie him Ghost Roaster and Wham-Shell. If Pop Fizz were to win, he would come and improve to 6-2, which would actually tie him with Hotdog. All alone in 3rd place is Fright at 3-5. Again, he almost made the 500 mark. 4, 5, 6, and 7 is all knotted up at 1-7. Essentially, just going by element, we have Jet-Vac, Flashwing, Shroom Boom, and Sprocket. And all alone in last place in our Newlander tier, we have Chill, who comes in winless at 0-8. So that kind of gives you the final standings. I may get that up on the blog. I don't really know. We'll figure something out, I suppose. But I've got a lot of things planned for the polls. It's going to be time constraints, essentially. Nonetheless, again, big thanks to everybody who voted this time around. More importantly, big thanks to everyone who's followed this series from its inception. Again, that first time when it was element versus element, Warnado, Jet-Vac, Fright or Ghost Roaster. Reason we had so many votes in that is I didn't cut it off after a week. We basically had more time for everything to accumulate, more people to get involved. I would have loved to have had crazy vote totals, like 75 to 64 type stuff. Issue there is, it would drag on a long time with the 1 week interval. We kind of don't get as many votes, but we can actually progress and kind of get more stuff in. So, like I said, the issue now with Castaways Newlanders is what you want to see. Essentially, option. I'm probably going to put this for sure on the blog tonight. I'll essentially have option A, it'll be Castaways versus Castaways, Newlanders versus Newlanders, and then the tournament. Or option B, go straight into a tournament. Either one would work. In my personal opinion, there's some pretty sweet matches if we were to do option A. For example, Camo Sunburn, Camo Ghost Roaster, Sunburn Wham-Shell, Boomer and Voodooed. That's like the ultimate showdown right there. Similarly on the Newlander side, I think they match up pretty well. Obviously, when you've got 4 or 5 tied, Chill Jet-Vac, Flashwing going up against Fright Rider, Sprocket versus Shroom Boom, Pop Fizz versus Hotdog. A lot of really good matches if we decide to go that route. And then again, basically what we would do, we'd take these standings right there at the bottom, and we'd kind of pin them together, kind of have a first half of the season, second half of the season, combine the records, use that to dictate the seeds for the tournament bracket, take it from there. But let me know what you want to see. Again, I'll probably have that up on the blog. You should know the drill by now. Right hand side, just below the Twitter feed, click whichever option you prefer, then click submit, and come back, check it, see how things are going, tell your friends to vote, or tell them to go vote for what you want if they don't care, because it'll help you out. Whatever works. And again, ultimate thing here, we want to have fun. It's just another outlet to enjoy Skylanders, kind of, fictitious type stuff. Again, if there was a single player battle mode, and I will do my best to push this at E3 if I'm given the opportunity, I would actually record all this stuff because it would be awesome. I'd essentially come in, I would play as Camo against CPU Hotdog, and then I'd play as CPU Hotdog versus Camo. Just kind of have something else to support this thing. But as it is, I really enjoy it. I mean, this basically breaks it down to the end user level. I'm an enthusiast, you're an enthusiast, you cast votes, we see what happens, and, kind of pure and simple, if you will. But, again, big thanks to everyone who's voted for the long haul. Like I said, ultimate goal here is simply just to have fun and enjoy things, so hopefully you've enjoyed it. This is not the end of this series. We can, again, go option A, Castaways Showdown, Newlander Showdown, then a tournament, or option B, just come in right now and do the tournament. So again, cast your vote, let me know what you want to see. Obviously the blog, oneofwisdom.blogspot.com. You can follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook, circle me on Google+, whichever you prefer. I think I've got a few more things I'm going to try to record, and then I will be in E3, so be sure to check the blog for that. That's going to be my #1 source of information there for you. Twitter, I will probably get some stuff up there. Again, for me, Twitter is infinitely easier to use than Facebook on the go. So while I will get the stuff posted to Google Plus and Facebook later, it will be on Twitter and the blog first. So keep that in mind, and then probably back at the hotel or something, that's when I'll get the videos up. Just because that's the only time I'll have a chance to do it. But real excited about that. Also real excited to see how people want to see this one pan out. But again, let me know, and we will catch you next time. And we're back, and the reason for that, ran over to the blog, and I've decided we're just going to go ahead and do this. I want to know how it would pan out. Round 2, matchup number 4, pitted Camo. At the time, he was undefeated, and he was facing off against Magic Element Newlander Pop Fizz, who was also undefeated, 1-0 at that moment. They tied. We had 30 votes. That was, again, the first time we went to 1 week. Prior to that, we had like 180 plus votes and everything. But 30 total votes. These two knotted up exactly at 15. And that's kind of what's thrown everything off. That's why Camo is now 7-0-1, and that's why Pop Fizz is 5-2-1. I'm going to go ahead tonight, and I'm going to give you option A, option B, in terms of what you want to see next. And I'm also going to have the sudden death showdown, Camo versus Pop Fizz, Life Element Castaway, Magic Element Newlander. This was our only tie. We did have a couple other instances, but like I said, we had like, what was it, 4 weeks or something, that bloggers' polls and video stuff was messed up. It was kind of skewed, if you will. Like votes would literally disappear. It was crazy mess, but I feel confident that this one was actually a tie, 15-15. It matches up with the vote total we had this time around, and again, lower total is just because we kept this one limited to a week. But I'll probably do the same for this one. We'll just kind of see how it goes. But I've got my winner picked out of these two. Hopefully you do too. Cast your vote. Tell your friends about this one. Again, this one is sudden death. It means business. Again, Camo 7-0-1. Pop Fizz 5-2-1. Something's got to give. Someone's going to take the win. Someone's going to take the loss. And we will then use that. Whether we go A or B, we'll kind of arm ourselves with that. So, like I said, I kind of decided we just go ahead and do this. So, Camo versus Pop Fizz. The ultimate sudden death showdown, our only one. And like I said, let me know what you want to see. Cast your vote. Tell your friends. Get them to vote. Pull for your favorite here. And hopefully we have another pretty good match. But this time, it doesn't end in a tie. If it ends in a tie this time, I actually don't vote in the polls. If I did, there's a couple of matches I could have swayed. But I do not vote in them. I give you my word on that. But if this somehow, we'll just say it winds up 15-15 again, I'll be the tiebreaker because we could go on for an eternity, and we'll just leave it at that. So tell your friends, pull for your favorites, cast your votes. Don't let me decide the match, and we will take it from there. But like I said, this will be a live poll on the blog, just like option A and B. And feel free to leave comments, let me know what you want, and we will do our best to make it happen. But in the meantime, sudden death, Camo, Pop Fizz.